Preaching isn't just standing behind a pulpit. It's carrying the weight of God's word into the middle of people's lives. But if we're honest, it's not always easy. There are weeks where the passion feels distant, inspiration runs dry, and the weight of life feels heavier than the message we're trying to deliver. In this episode, we're talking about what it really means to be called to preach, how we know it's from God, how we keep our hearts fresh, and how we stay faithful when the fire feels dim. This isn't a conversation about sermon prep. It's about soul prep. Because before we preach to others, God often preaches to us first. Here on the Pastor's Potluck Podcast, our goal is to encourage you and maybe in the process, entertain you. If you're ready, let's dig in. Welcome to another episode of the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. First and foremost, we want to kind of give you a fair warning today. They're kind of wrapping up what's happening above us. So you may or may not hear a couple of like nail guns and things going off, but we're just going to power through it because we prayed before this and I just said, God, that's just the sound of your provision. Yeah. God providing a new roof for us, and they are currently working on it. And we are excited because our insurance company, came through for us. And that was truly an act of God in a moment where, actually quite a few moments over the past 10 years, I think, where we were just like, man, we need to address the roof. And it's awesome. Yeah. Awesome seeing awesome what God's doing. And we're totally grateful for that. And we can't wait for you all, whenever y'all get here, to visit and see us on Sunday or whenever you do get up here, that you get to see a brand new shiny roof. Yeah. It looks amazing.
Yep. I'm excited for everyone to see it. It really is a blessing. Even though, God provides for his church in a lot of different ways. And so it's kind of crazy. Yeah. So I'm very thankful.
Yep. Grateful for that. Well, we're continuing our discussion on teaching and kind of like picking your brain on just all things teaching, preaching, speaking, just all the different topics that anybody could ever think of or imagine. And just get your perspective on it, since you are the lead communicator here at Southridge Church. And we do have a speaking team, and we had Aaliyah on last week. And I'm sure that throughout this series that we will get other communicators and get their input and see where they stand on some of these questions and how they process things and how they walk through different seasons of their life whenever they've been asked to teach, whenever they've got outside things happening and all of that. And we wanted to kind of get more on the personal side today for you. When did you realize that you were going to be a preacher?
When did I realize I was going to? So what most people that are at Southridge now don't know, because there's probably only, there's less than 30 people that are still here. Yeah. But I was hired I started December 1st, 2011 here at Southridge. Before that, I think I had maybe spoke in our youth ministry as a volunteer. Yeah. I think once. And I wasn't like sermon prepping necessarily. I was more, I was preaching a series curriculum like we got from another church. And because that's kind of what they do a lot of times in youth ministries, kids ministries, you got curriculums. So I think I started December 1st. I'd never preached before. Our pastor left. The guy that hired me left in summer of 12. And at that point, the two pastors that were on staff were me and another young guy that had only started about a year and a half, 2 years before me. Yeah. So you've got someone that is 6 months into ministry and someone that's like 2 years, maybe 3 years into ministry, and the church is turning to us and going, you have to preach us through this transition until we get a new pastor. Now, by that point, I had like 8 months worth of preaching in youth ministry to my youth group started at like 8 kids. The first time I ever preached, there was 8 kids in the room. And, the biggest I ever saw on any given Wednesday night was 27. So with adults, the biggest crowd I had ever preached to was like 30 people. Yeah. And at that time, Southridge probably ran 350 people or something like that. And they're going, all right, you're up. You guys create the series. You guys create the teaching calendar. And you guys are preaching us through a transition. And so I literally started preaching almost every week. And I had only been saved for January 2010. And this is fall of 2012. And I'm preaching to a church of 300 plus every weekend or most weekends, maybe like on one, off one. Yeah. And I was in seminary at the time. I was in Bible college, but I had not yet even taken a preaching class. Yeah. So I am literally writing sermons based on what I thought people did that I saw growing up in church. Frankly, I didn't think looking back on it, I'm like, this is not good. This is, I still remember one of the sermons that I preached. I think, and I still have the outline on my computer. I think this is one of them that I saved, is the 10 attributes of God. So I preached about 10 different things about God on this one sermon. Yeah. I'm a big proponent of no, you need to focus in on one. Yeah. Maybe every once in a while, like this past Sunday, I had a 3-part or a 3-point sermon, but that's very rare, as I don't think that that's the most effective way to communicate. But I had 10, and some weeks I feel like I would have 7 or 8 points. Early, I look back at some of those notes, I'm like, I don't even know what was I doing. Yeah. And when I realized that things were clicking, though, is I was getting people were responding to my preaching, and not just pat on the head, nice job, little buddy. They were coming up going, this is you've got a future in this. This is, and I was like, oh, okay. So people were very nice to me during that whole time, even though I know the sermons were not good. I knew nothing about sermon structure. I knew nothing about anything. I would write this thing. Megan and I lived in a little townhouse up in Fort Hill. And I would stand in the kitchen, and I would rehearse my sermon in front of Megan and to the cabinets just over and over and over. Even though, they weren't very good, but I could tell in that season, I was like, this is something. I had enough affirmation from people where it was I think that this is going to be something that's going to be a big part of my life going forward. But at that time, I was still actually in youth ministry and was going to be in youth ministry for a little while longer before I made any transitions. Yeah. But that's kind of how I knew it was. I got thrown right into it. Honestly, at a time I would not suggest this for any other church. If you're going through a transition, don't find someone that's been saved less than 2 years to preach you through that transition. Yeah. Even the guy that worked with me, he was only in ministry 3 years. Yeah. He had preached a couple sermons, I think, up to that point. But both of us were very, very new in this.
And he was in kids ministry, and so
he was the kids pastor. I was the students pastor, and here we are. We're just doing what we can.
His delivery for the last 2.5, 3 years was kids, and how to keep their attention.
Yeah, and he's incredible at that. Yeah. And so it was we were both just going, all right. But I knew God was working in it, and then when our new pastor came, he really was good about leadership development and pouring into us as ministers and as pastors and as young pastors. He wanted to really help us because he knew that we had futures in ministry, and so he did a lot for introducing us to people and resources and conferences. That started to open up my mind to go oh my gosh, I'm not good at preaching. Yeah. And so I've got to figure out how to be good at it. And he helped introduce me to people that I still listen to this day. And he's the one that introduced me to Communicating for a Change. That is a book that
is literally a life-changing book.
If you're going to preach at this church, if you haven't read Communicating for a Change, you ain't going to make it here. It really, it felt like for the longest time I was writing sermons. I would have my Bible, I would have a commentary, and I would have Communicating for a Change sitting there like, all right, like it felt like it was right part of the process. He's the one that introduced me to that. He poured into me so much that as I began to develop structure and all of the stuff that I was learning through the books I was reading, the people I was listening to, is when things started to take off. And it would be like our main pastor at the time was a very good preacher, but we were very different. And he made the comment one time. He said a lot of times what it felt like is he would preach, and then whenever we were ready for everything that he's done up to that point, like when we're ready to like kick it in, right there, like I was coming in that last week or whatever, and it was going to be like, because it was such a change of pace, because he was from the two of us, and we worked really well in that, and so people really started to respond to my preaching when Mark really started pouring into me. It was the biggest blessing of my life was to work with Mark Sundstrom for 2 years. Because then after that, I became the lead teaching pastor, and that was in late 2015. So I'm talking, I've been a Christian for 5 years. I've been in ministry for 4 years by the time I become the lead teaching pastor, and I'm creating sermon series. And my knowledge on the topic, though, exploded under my time with Mark. It's when I was listening to podcasts, I was taking courses, I was doing everything I possibly could, to the point where, like, I don't even know, most people around here know, like, when I got my master's, I had to write a capstone project. For that, it had to be a seminar that I could teach to other people, and my capstone project is on preaching, and I still teach that seminar. Like, we have it on our YouTube channel, actually, for Southwest Church. You can go watch it.
You've gone and done it, helped out with other churches.
I've gone to other churches, and I actually used to teach it for the Church of God. The Church of God used to have these online classes called Life Builders. I think Life Builders or something. And I did the preaching course for all of the Church of God. One of the people that is on the National Church of God staff that is actually in charge of all domestic ministry went through my class. That's to crazy. This point, when he sees me at like Church of God stuff, like he'll literally tell people, he goes, "That's who taught me to preach." Right? He said, when I took that class, it changed my life. It was like, even then, I still didn't feel like I knew anything about preaching. I knew Communicating for a Change. And that's what I would teach people, because that's what was taught to me, and it transformed my life. So that's kind of was the trajectory. Was like I got thrown into it, and something was happening, but it wasn't because like it was just like the sermons weren't good. Yeah. But then someone poured into me, and what was like real raw there when I got thrown into the fire got kind of developed, and year after year after year after year, God has now developed more and more and more. Like I still fully believe in Communicating for a Change and the structure that Andy Stanley and talks about in that book, but also know that people have to make preaching unique to who they are. Yeah. And so I don't follow Communicating for a Change as verbatim, even though I think the principles in there you would still see them in my sermons. Even that has grown. The delivery of everything. I used to have notes up on a podium. I used to stand behind a podium. I'll still do that from time to time.
Whenever it's very, very in-depth,
if I'm going deep.
Whenever you did the apologetics series here,
if I've got a bunch of scriptures or a bunch of quotes or a bunch of statistics, something like that like it's more of a teaching moment than preaching, I'll bring the podium out still. Yeah. But that started probably back in 2017, 2018, I would say. I ditched the podium. Actually, the podium that we use, that metal one that's very heavy that you always have to carry out. Yeah, yeah. The church bought me that for Pastor Appreciation Month one time. And literally it was that month that I had already told Pastor Michael who was my co-pastor at the time, that I was no longer going to be preaching from the podium. Yeah. And so a week after they bought that, it literally just went back to the side of the stage. I didn't use it. Yeah. I still just sparingly use it, but even so the delivery changed from I'm no longer behind the podium with notes. It was now I use little note cards tucked into my Bible. So it's all progressed to where it's at. And I used to do, 4-week sermon series were like the core, like 4 or 5 weeks max.
Yeah.
Here we are. I was asking someone to speak in Rise and Fall this coming November to wrap everything up.
Yeah.
And it was someone that spoke for me last September, and they were in Rise and Fall Part 1. And he said, Scott, are you still in Samuel? And I'm like, yeah. Like, this is because I always knew that's where God was leading us as a church.
Yeah.
Was that, yes, I think we need to preach topical series, but I think learning how the Bible is telling one cohesive story, and you'll always get more out of week after week after week building than you would if I just gave you something new every 4 weeks or whatnot. And so I always knew we were building. And you can actually go back and watch the progression. Like, I had a plan in it all along of how we were going to get to be able to do Rise and Fall Part 1 for 28 weeks.
Yeah.
And it started with, like, we're doing a 4-week series. Then I would do a topical 6-week series, just stretch it out just a little bit. And then I would do a book of the Bible, but it would be 5 chapters, and I would say, okay, we're going to do the book of James in 5 weeks. We're going to cover one passage in James for 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then...
Which, ironically, like, you could do that in a year.
Yeah. And then we did like a Wednesday... This is back when we used to have Wednesday night church. We did a Wednesday night series on the book of Hebrews.
Yeah.
12 weeks. So... like, just in little ways, I kept stretching. And then when COVID happened, it changed the whole game.
Yeah.
We did Upside Down that we just walked through here on the podcast for 20 weeks. It was the longest we've ever done it. But honestly, most of that was because I had planned to do 8 weeks on the Sermon on the Mount. It's like, you can't do the Sermon on the Mount in 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And then COVID shuts, the building down for all that time. And it's like, well, there's really no reason not to just walk through the Sermon on the Mount since I'm the only one in the building anyways.
Yeah.
Might as well just do that. And so that started to lengthen it out. And then I started introducing like 8-week series, 10-week series, and longer books of the Bible.
Yeah.
And it stretched it out to where we're at now. And it's like last year we did 28 weeks of 1 Samuel. This year we're going to end up doing 18 weeks of 2 Samuel. And there's more of that to come, even though I think topical is still going to be part of it. Because like that's earlier this year, we went and did The Adventures of Selfish and Stupid because we knew that there was a relationship need in our church that we needed to speak into that.
We also did a topical series with the Church of God as a whole in West Virginia, going through the kingdom and what does it look like to be a part of God's kingdom and all, 7 different areas of our life and how can we transform as individuals to be more. And so I can tell you this, as someone who sits out and listens each and every single week, I appreciate because I can go back whenever I'm reading some of this stuff in like my personal time. I'm going, okay, now I know, and now I see how this is all pointing back to it's all leading up to Jesus. Because you can do a series on the presence of God. And so you're talking about the presence of God with the Ark of the Covenant. Then you're talking about Jesus being here on this earth, the presence of God here in the physical form. Yes. And then you can also talk about the Holy Spirit, what came after Jesus whenever he made his ascension back up to heaven. Yeah. And you can get a better understanding of the presence of God. But if you take your time and just work through something and how it is leading up to this and how it's leading up to this specific moment, like especially with like the Old Testament, then you have this better understanding of like why the Bible is what it is. It is, like you said, it's telling this one big cohesive story, and everything is all pointing to this moment in time whenever Jesus came, was growing up, how he led his disciples, how he led to other people, how he had this conversation about the kingdom, how he died, how he raised, and then how he's coming back, and where his rule and reign is going to happen, in the whole grand scheme of things. And it's opened my eyes, and I'm appreciative of it. Like, you have your Mark Sundstrom, but to me, like, you're my Mark Sundstrom, because I preached. You saw something that I preached on YouTube a while back. Great, it was good. It was my first time preaching. Yeah, but I missed the point of the story that I was preaching on. Right, and where it pointed. I just missed the topic. I could have hit a home run if I would have looked at it in a specific way and where it was leading us to this story of Jesus and why we are broken. And I think it was like 2.5, 3 years later, like after I got hired on, you preached that sermon of the prodigal son, you were like, "Hey, we're the dudes in the ditch." I was like, "Oh, dude, swinging."
Good Samaritan. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. The Good Samaritan. I was like,
you got prodigal son on your mind because of Sunday.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, Good Samaritan.
The Good Samaritan. And so, like, how we're the one who was beaten up and in the ditch, and we're not the dude that came and helped him. Because I preached on the topic of we should be helping the least of you, which is great. We should always have that on our mind. But we have to take ourselves out of the hero of these stories and look at the hero of the story as Jesus, and we are the ones who are in need of Jesus.
Yeah, because, and here's what Christian discipleship, here's where they get it wrong. This is why I said on this past Sunday, I think that the vast majority of bad behavior, sin, whatever you want to call it, comes from a forgotten identity.
Yeah.
It is because this, in that story of the Good Samaritan, when I preach it, I go, here's what, when I grew up, they would preach it exactly how you did.
Yeah.
Look what this guy does for his enemies. Well, you're supposed to love your enemy. You're supposed to go above and beyond. You're supposed to be hospitable. You're supposed to care about people that are hurting. And is any of that not true?
No, it's all true.
All true. But you look at someone and you go, this is who you're supposed to be.
Not again. You need a cough drop.
No, I have one. I think that might have been the problem. No, but we tell people, and we're like, you're supposed to be nice like the Good Samaritan. You go, here's what's wrong with that. That comes from a way of viewing humanity in the scriptures as if I can just look at Jared and go, be nicer. It does. That's what they do. That's what all Christian discipleship that I can recall growing up was just that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Do this. And it sounds good on paper, but it's behavior modification. What happens is it's not grounded in anything.
Yeah.
The reason why I can get you to the same place in the Good Samaritan message if I start by telling you that you're the person in the ditch.
Yeah.
If I tell you that you're the person walking along and you're such a helpful Samaritan, you're like, oh, yes, I am. And then you're puffed up.
And then you still don't go do those
exactly,
things.
In your puffed up nature, you will look at the person in the ditch and go, nah.
Yeah.
If I can get you to see yourself as the person in the ditch, you know what will flow from you
is the kindness that was shown.
Kindness that was shown to the person in the ditch.
Yeah.
It's as soon as you recognize who you are in the story, you'll get the same outcome.
Yeah.
But you'll get it better and deeper. It'll be transformative instead of just behavior modification.
Yeah.
Hey, don't go and do that. Why? Well, because the Bible says not to. And it's like, that's not a strong way to teach someone to a life of holiness. And so I think in a lot of these stories, if we could just see who, again, we've been studying David now for, we're going to hit 40 weeks or so when it comes to David. And it's like, if the thing that you keep learning from the life of David is that you're David, you're missing the point.
Yeah.
David is the Christ figure. You are always Saul. You are Mephibosheth. You are everyone other than David.
Yeah.
You are not David in these stories. Same thing, like, this is my problem. You go listen to most of the preaching about David and Goliath, and they're like, you can conquer giants. It's like, no, you are not David. You are the Israelites standing on the sidelines, scared, paralyzed, can't fight for yourself, needed David and the better David, Jesus, to come and fight your battles for you. You are not David, right? So if you can find yourself in the story in the proper place, and here's how you know if you're in the proper place. If you are playing the hero of the story, you are not in the proper place.
Yeah.
The hero is always Jesus. The hero is always Jesus, and the quicker that you will come to realize that, the quicker you'll actually depend on him instead of yourself.
Yeah, we kind of get it backwards. I mean, we do a lot. We think that behavior modification is going to lead to heart transformation, and that is, it's the wrong way. Heart transformation leads to behavior modification.
Yep.
A transformed life will do exceedingly and abundantly more than you will ever think or imagine.
Yeah.
But behavior modification is only something that happens temporarily.
Yep.
Because then people just tend to just have a tendency to revert back to their old self.
Yeah. And behavior modification will only ever be short term.
Yeah.
Or you can do it long term if you want to be really miserable. Because you're living inconsistently is what happens.
Yeah.
It's because it's not actually true about you. You're not actually a nice person. But the more that you try to make yourself be nice, you'll actually be miserable because that tension will tear you apart.
Our next question, back on to more of like the personal side of Scott. And since you do, you preach, 42 weeks out of the 52-week year, something like that?
This year is going to be closer to 46 Sundays, which is higher than I would like to be, but I've got some reasons why. I'm hoping in the future I can back down.
Yeah.
Some of it's cultural, West Virginia is there's an expectation in West Virginia because they're not.
If the preacher ain't here.
Yeah, they're not necessarily accustomed to understanding this whole idea of a teaching team because most everyone in West Virginia grew up with Pappy preaching Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. He's the only guy that ever went to the hospital.
For 35 years.
Yeah, and so there's some. It needs to come down. The more that it can come down, because we're not trying to build a church based on me and my preaching.
Yeah.
Because me being here is all up to God. Yeah. At the moment that he goes, hey, I need you in California or I need you in Beijing, then God's in charge. And if the whole thing rises and falls with my preaching, then this church is in a whole lot of trouble. Yeah. Which is why we need to get up to where I'm down to 42, maybe even 40, to where there's once a month someone else is filling the pulpit. Because you don't ever want to be dependent on my voice. I know that wasn't the question.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
How do you keep your heart fresh or stay passionate about preaching every single week?
So first and foremost, because it's the way that the Spirit has gifted me and it's the thing that God has made me most passionate about in this whole world, the passion side of it takes care of itself.
Yeah.
And what happens, you won't know this early on in your preaching ministry. So if you're young in preaching and you're just getting used to it, you won't know this because you won't have experienced it enough. Here's what I've come to figure out. It used to be, we give you a week like I just had. So Monday, right now I'm preaching on Wednesday nights and Sundays because I've got a small group that I'm preaching in, just something I felt the Lord laid on my heart. So I'm prepping 2 sermons this week. So Monday got away from me. I have back-to-back things from the time I show up here on Monday.
Yeah.
But I'm supposed to be at some point helping get ready that Wednesday night sermon on Monday because I do my Sunday prep on Tuesday and Wednesday. Well, this week, Monday was a scratch. So Tuesday morning, I told Megan, I said, I got to go to work early. I got to get caught up. It takes me a long time yesterday to write the Wednesday sermon. And so by the time I get into, all right, now let's look at Sunday. It's late into Tuesday. And I start reading 2 Samuel 13 and 14 and 15. I just kept reading because I was like, okay, God, anytime that you want to step in and go, this is what you're supposed to preach, that'd be really nice if you could do that because my week is shortened now. I don't have as much time. If you just would like to go ahead and speak and let me know what I'm doing, that would be wonderful. So I just kept reading and reading. And I got to the end of my day yesterday and I was like, I've got nothing. I don't see anything in these texts. I don't see anything in these passages. Early on in my ministry, I would have freaked out. And even there was a little bit of panic yesterday where I was like, should I just cancel this rest of this series? Like, if I don't have anything to say, I had that moment of freak out. But then because I've done this so long and God has done this so many times,
yeah, I
am now very comfortable leaving on Tuesday going, I don't know what I'm doing Sunday. 10 years ago, it drove me crazy.
Yeah.
Because I've been like, no, I need every single minute of my week to be able to. But now I'm like, no, God will do what he's going to do whenever he wants to do it. Come in the office this morning, and in a moment, like the Lord's just like, here you go. And he does it every single week. So, like, the passion for it and, like, the awe of, like, every time I write a sermon, I just go, I don't even know where that came from, and honestly, I don't even know how I know the stuff that I know. Yeah. I just know that it's a work of God every single week that it happens. It blows my mind.
Yeah, it takes the quote unquote task off of the job that is.
It's like the Lord will do it whenever He wants.
Yeah, it's one of those things that like you mentioned earlier, the gifting that you have and and knowing that it is from God, it does give you a sense of passion for what God has called you to do. And so it doesn't feel like a task or something mundane or monotonous. It is new, it is exciting, and it's fresh every single week because you know that God's going to give you something that you're like, man.
Well, I can't, it's one of those things, I cannot wait until Sunday so I can share. Because people always come up to me on Sunday, they go, that was for me. Yeah. They did it to me this past Sunday. That was the sermon the Lord literally spoke the whole thing to me while I was sitting listening to Pastor Cheryl the week before. Yeah. Sometimes He does it like that. I've had times I've literally been sitting out back on my back porch, and the Lord goes, here's a sermon. And like I'll have to run into the house, grab my phone to make notes, or I'll be sitting in someone else's sermon. This is where Easter for next year came from. I'm listening to someone else teach, and the Lord's going, this is for Easter next year. So I'm like typing notes real quick. Like it's unreal to me how much He does that. But like, I don't know. I'm so excited for what chapter 13 and 14 of 2 Samuel is. I mean, it's bizarre. It's so sad. Yeah, so sad. There's so much human wickedness in those two in that chapter, in chapter 13, and then chapter 14 deals with it a lot, like chapter 11, and then chapter 12 deals with it. And it's amazing to me that the Lord is able to show me stuff and to speak to me in a way, and then I start to see it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to tell someone about this. Like it's so exciting. So there's it. If God shows up when you preach, you will never, and when you prep, you will never, like tire of doing it. Yeah. Like sure, there's tough weeks. There's tough weeks to like get the motor started. Mm-hmm. Once it's going, it's crazy. Now on the personal side,
I was going to ask you because this goes hand in hand with this because I've read notes that you've gotten to us, say Wednesday, and then we get a message late Saturday. Hey, like there's been moments to where it's like, okay, I know the things that I've got to do. I've got to put some things down, but then you don't get like that really good clarity until late Saturday. Yeah. Like, how do you handle those situations whenever you know that, hey, Sunday's it's coming. Yeah. There's nothing, we can't add another day to the week. Yeah. And just like, is there like, what do you go through during that time? Because I know there's some times to where you're just like, okay, this is where we're at. This is what I'm talking on. And I'm gonna put something together and it could be amazing, but then God speaks to you so late. Like how do you walk through that, knowing that God's going to give you something, like some clarity late in the week?
Yeah, my full trust, because of how many times He has done it, is in that God always comes through every single week when it comes to this. He's never asked me to walk into the pulpit with nothing to say, ever. I don't think every sermon is created equal. I'm not saying I'm up there hitting home runs every week, but He's always given me something to say. Yeah. And so I am so comfortable with that now. That I don't mind shifting my focus. I don't mind changing some things up. I'm comfortable with that because I've seen God come through enough in regards to that. Mm-hmm. The personal, how do I keep myself fresh type deal? Some of that is you do have to have weeks off. Yeah. Probably more weeks off than I've taken this year, but you do have to have weeks off. You have to take your time away from church. You have to, and this is something over the last probably year and a half to 2 years that I have finally figured out. It's taken me so long. I feel stupid. It's taken me so long to figure out what an unbelievable difference being prayed up and being in the Word consistently, how that makes a difference. Yeah. You will find with most pastors, most preachers, They they pray and they read their Bible, but they just do it whenever they can fit it in. There's so much prayer and Bible reading in what we do anyways. It's very easy to just go like, yeah, like I checked that box or whatnot.
Yeah.
It's totally different for me now, like of how I'm staying fresh is like, I've talked about it a lot on the potluck. The freedom I feel in my spiritual disciplines to practice multiple different disciplines, and it doesn't always have to look the same every single day. Like I just told somebody at lunch today, Megan was making fun of me because I told her I was like, when I'm writing the sermon for this Sunday, I hit a point, I typed something, I read it, and I'm weeping in my office. Like, I can't believe this is true of me. I cannot wait to tell people that it's true of them too. And like Will, because she said something about me crying. I said I've cried almost every day for like the past couple of months. I'll listen to a song. I'll read like I had a moment just listening to a sermon on my couch. Did I tell you this yet?
Mm-mm.
I told maybe it was Jake and Aaliyah. They came over. I told them, or maybe it was Paul and Ann. I don't know. I'm sitting on my couch 2 weeks ago. I was listening to this sermon from Stephen Furtick at Elevation, which is not even like a. I don't go and listen to Furtick all the time, but he's preaching a series right now that's personally beneficial to me. We get to the end of this sermon. Landon's sitting there watching it with me. Megan's on the couch. Landon's like ready to watch the next thing. Megan's on her phone. I'm listening to this sermon. He wraps it up. They start singing this song. Next thing I know, I'm like weeping on my couch, and Landon's looking at me like,
what's going on, bro?
like my dad is a crazy person right now. So like, I'm telling Will like, I don't know. I've been crying every day over something in the last like 2-3 months. And he made a joke. Why, are you pregnant? And I said, no, I think it's because I'm as close to God right now as I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
And it's because I have finally figured out the freedom of spiritual disciplines. I am learning to learn more about God's grace. And so the spiritual disciplines of prayer and Bible reading, but also rest. Listen, I am not one of those. Like, you'll find a lot of pastors that every day at the end of the day, they're going to pack up their stuff and they're going to take it home with them.
Yeah. And
they're going to work on that sermon at the kids' ball game, and they're going to work on the sermon when they get home, and in between, they're going to get home and they're going to work until dinner time. And no, when I leave this place, I don't take anything with me.
Yeah.
I don't take anything with me. I don't work in the evenings on my sermons. When I'm home, I'm going to my kids' game, and I'm going to either coach or I'm going to sit there and watch. I'm not going to be busy. Like I guard my family time. When I leave here on Thursday, I do not. Now this is something that may change because I'm feeling some like promptings in a different direction, but I got to figure it out. When I leave here Thursday at say 3:00, whenever I leave, I do not look at that sermon again until Sunday morning. I don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Like, it's gone. I'm going to now have my weekend with my family, and I'm going to show up Sunday morning very fresh, ready to go.
Yeah.
So those are the general principles of how I stay fresh. Like, honestly, the other side of it is like, if you're a content person, like you got to push out content, and which preachers, you are content creators. Mm-hmm. You are a content creator on par with just about any other sort. Like, you got to have something new every 7 days.
Yeah. If
If you have multiple services a week, you got to pump out more than one every 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have a lot of input in your life, you don't have enough to have the output. And so I see everything in life as sermon prep. So I'm watching, right now, my opening illustration for Sunday is going to be from a TV show that I've been watching. Like for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I just watch TV to relax.
Big Brother?
Yeah.
Nice.
I watch TV to relax, but I also watch TV to be exposed to as much content as I possibly can, so I have stuff to draw from. Yeah. For illustrations, for openers, for stories, for this, for that. Like, so I like to watch movies. I like to watch sports. I like to, like, if you listen to podcasts relentlessly, listen to books. If you don't have a lot of input, then you cannot have a lot of output as a preacher.
Yeah.
And so those are all things that help keep me fresh to be able to do what God has asked me to do.
Yeah.
We have a discipline of Megan and I getting away every fall. just a me and her trip. That helps keep me. I don't know how many people, how much people understand that if you want your pastor at his best, you want a pastor that exhausts his time that the church has given him for being away.
Yeah.
That's what your desire should be. If you want your pastor to be their best when you bring your friend for the first time, then encourage your pastor that make sure that they take every single vacation day that they are allotted, because you want them to be fresh.
Yeah.
If you get them 42 times a year, make sure you get the best 42 versions of your pastor as you possibly can by making sure that they stay fresh, well rested, well taken care of, well encouraged.
Yeah.
Make sure that you do that for your pastor, and they will always give you their best, and they'll always have their best to give if you make sure. And so like we take that trip. We take our vacations in the summer. I do take a couple Sundays a year to go and travel with my travel baseball team and just take a pause.
Yeah.
And so these are just matters of personal self-care that keep me in the game. Yeah. And honestly, for me, 1 week from not preaching, by the time I get back, like I am so
amped
ready. I am so ready
yeah.
To preach. And so that's a lot of how I stay fresh to do this.
Yeah, and for the last question, I guess I want to ask you is like, what does it look like for the opposite side of the spectrum?
Yeah.
You've been very open and very honest about some personal struggles that you've dealt with in the past, and there's been some very heavy burdens that you've had to carry and seasons that you've walked through. How do you begin to manage something like that? You know, that like I think that there was a season here where it just seemed like there was a number of people that were congregants here at Southridge Church that it just seemed like 1, 2, then it would go back to 1, and then 3 people like on specific week, like back-to-back consecutive weeks that people were just like passing away. Like those are like some very heavy moments that you walk through, and it's like, it's like that weighs on us as just as individuals, just because of, you know, we're walking alongside of these people when some of their heaviest moments, and we also are not prone from spiritual attacks ourselves. Yeah. Like how do you navigate seasons of life like that to where it's like, man, okay, like this is happening, you know, this person passed away, and then the next week it's like, oh my gosh, like, you know, a leak happened, or, you know, it's just, you know, we notice that the roof is going through, you know, like, God, like we're like, these are things that like weigh on us heavily. Like how do you begin to like walk through those moments, or how do you guard yourself or prepare yourself to continue to be a leader at the best that you absolutely can? I think
that this was one of the reasons why we always wanted to create the Pastor's Potluck. It's the way we could have conversations like this where people could like peek in. Yeah. Because like I know we've had staff members at different points, myself included, that have taken sabbaticals. And whenever I talk to people in the church, and I don't think any of them ever say anything like, it'll always be like tongue-in-cheek, joking around, like, oh, I wish I got a sabbatical at my job or whatnot. And if you ever wonder why churches are set up for their pastors to have time away, it's for what you just described. Yeah. So first and foremost, I tell every single person that I meet that says that they're interested in preaching and pursuing preaching ministry, if God will let you do absolutely anything else, you should go and do anything else that God will let you do. Yeah. If He'll let you be an engineer, an architect, a nurse, a doctor, go and do anything else other than preach. Yeah. If you don't have any other options, and that's where I'm at. Like, God has not given me any other options to go and do anything else other than preach. And because there are those seasons that you talked about, but the first thing that I want people to understand about preaching is, if you meet me and you work with me, so you know that this is true, but I've even had people I've never said this to notice this and then try to figure out what's going on. if you meet me on a week that I am set to preach, I'm a different person than a week that I'm not scheduled to preach.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had lunch with a bunch of people from church the last time that I didn't have to preach, and a woman there that knows me very well asked me that week, "This is what's different about you this week?" I am lighter. I am goofier. I'm funnier. I'm easier to get along with, and the reason is when you know that you have to preach. First off, you do have a deadline. Like, you got to preach that sermon at Sunday at 9 a.m. no matter what.
Yeah.
But there is a heaviness that comes with the role of preacher that goes, when God weighs you down with a message, you have to carry that weight all week until you get rid of the weight by delivering the message.
Yeah.
And then you get the rest of Sunday to breathe a little bit. And then if you're scheduled the very next Sunday, you pick that weight right back up that next Monday morning and you go, yeah, it's like, and there's a weight. Like, my wife understands it. She feels it. She sees it. And I guarantee my kids probably aren't old enough to articulate it yet, but there will be a sense in which I guarantee at some point in their life, my kids will be able to look back and go, on the weeks that Dad had to preach, he was a little bit different than the weeks that he didn't have to preach. There is a weight just in general. Even if everything in the world is going good, there is a weight under the responsibility of stepping into a pulpit and preaching. Mm-hmm. This is what, like, I talk to our interns around here a lot. Like, if you get an opportunity to preach, I don't care whether it's to 15 people or to 500 people or 5,000 people. Whatever the crowd is doesn't matter. If you've been tapped on the shoulder to stand in a pulpit and speak on behalf of God, you better take it serious. Like, you better take it like it's the most serious thing that you have ever been asked to do in your life, because that's how serious preaching is. It's it's different than anything else. And so when you take that initial weight and the burden of preaching, that's just normal. Even when the sky is blue and the birds are singing, there's that weight. And then you add in your own personal struggles.
Yeah. And
then you add in, like, at a church like ours, I'm not just the preacher. I have a staff that I have to manage. We have events that we're doing. I'm teaching, training you all. I am responsible for a $600,000 budget. I'm responsible for this $2 or $3 million building.
Elders.
I have elders, but like I have HR processes that I'm responsible for. I run a one-on-one meeting with my staff as often as I possibly can. I'm taking notes. If there's someone that needs corrected, I have to correct. If there's something that goes wrong, I have to, everything right, like, it's all. And so you take the weight of preaching, and then you take the weight of whatever's happening in my personal life. If I got, craziness going on with my kids, or one of them struggling in school or whatever, like, yeah, I got to deal with that. Yeah. And then you take the craziness of trying to run an organization this large, that preaching doesn't get the full attention that I wish that it did. Yeah. Because of the amount of other distractions that happen in leadership. And then you take the overall brokenness of the world, and you add all of that to that. It makes for a very, very difficult recipe to how in the world am I going to stand up and preach every 7 days, given the fact of what I'm going through and whatnot. There's times that things do get bad enough that you need to say something to someone. And I've done that before. I got took out of the pulpit for like 3 weeks when I kind of had like a full-on mental breakdown, it felt like, for about a month, where it's when I was struggling with anxiety really bad, but I hadn't told anybody. Yeah. When I finally just went and told our elder board, I told my wife, I told our families, and was like, hey, if you've seen this version of me, I just want you to know what's going on. The elders here were very gracious to me, and were like, let's take you off preaching for the next couple of weeks, give you some time. Like, you should say something. If it's really, really tough, you should say something. But if it's just the normal grind, for me, I see what God has asked me to do as part of, not the sum total, because there's a personal side and a professional side, but as part of take up your cross and follow me. Mm-hmm. There's a sense in which there should the struggle of life actually adds to the sweetness of your preaching.
Yeah.
That it adds color to sermons, and so it's that's how you end up dealing with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've had God do a lot of work in me in tough seasons through sermons that He's giving me to preach, but I know I'm the primary audience for.
Yeah.
So I've had that happen over and over and over. Like I was just 5-6 weeks ago, just in dire straits personally, and the Lord gives me a message on suffering and pain and things like that, that I was the primary audience for that.
Yeah.
And so God uses the requirement to preach as a way that He can also deal with the brokenness that's going on in me in that moment. So it's you have to paint both pictures. Preaching is the heaviest, most sacred assignment God has ever given me, and it is also the unmistakable joy of my life. Like I would not want to do anything else other than preach God's word and help people understand the Bible. Like I love watching people when you say something and you see them put the
light bulbs
pieces together, and especially how I've come to learn to teach over the last couple of years, where we're running threads throughout the whole Scripture. The light's starting to go off and going, this story is so much deeper and more magnificent than I ever could have even begun to imagine.
Yeah.
I think that we're going to have a lot of those moments this Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate your open and honesty answering these questions. It's obviously one of those things to where not a whole lot of people get kind of like this insight and like your preparation, managing things of this life and the joys and the burdens and all that goes in between. And, I appreciate you. This week, though, I will say, I know you're preaching on Sunday, and you, like you said, you could tell the weeks that you don't preach. But you and I have cut up a lot this week in passing. Mm-hmm. I think just mainly around good old Earl.
Yeah, a little bit of that Earl.
We all need just a touch more of the Earl.
Certain weeks are different.
Yeah,
I really can't explain it. Like 3 weeks ago, I felt like I was under the gun, and it was Tuesday. I felt like I was texting Megan. I said, I don't even understand my insides right now. I am lit on fire with anxiousnness and worry about this sermon not being done, even though I know God always comes through. He always gives me what to say. I've never gone up there. And I was like, on that week, I was just a different person. I was just like anxious about like, oh, the sermon's not done yet. The sermon's not done yet.
Yeah.
Because I do know, like, the moment that I hit submit,
bro, they're going nuts on the
roof.
Yeah,
they are. The moment that I hit submit, like it feels, I can feel almost like a weight be carried off my shoulders and go, all right. Because that's when I leave on Thursday, I feel like as good as I'm going to feel until I preach it. Yeah. On Thursday evening, Friday, Saturday, like just, it's always different. Like this week. I don't really know what has led to my lighthearted attitude. And that hasn't been the whole time
there's I won't say
there's some moments that I wish I could get back. I'll just say that. But God's good.
Yep. It's time for our mystery meat question. If you have just joined us today for the first time for some strange reason, which I'm grateful for, glad you're here. We have a segment on the podcast called the mystery meat. It's where a whole bunch of random questions go into this jar, and we just stir it up and grab one at random, kind of like a mystery meat at a potluck. Like, you don't know what's in here. You don't know what's going to come out, when it's going to come out, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. This one's it's a little bad, but bad and like...
And if you're new, you should know I hate the potluck because I'm not a fun person.
No, you hate the mystery meat.
Oh, that's what it is, the mystery meat, because I'm not fun.
You like the potluck.
I love the potluck.
But if you had to name a new planet... If you had to name a new planet that was discovered, what ridiculous name would you choose?
So Jared has used to. I know he recently has felt bad about it. Had a sticker that he made on his phone of my disappointed face. If I had that sticker, I would put that on this question.
It's deleted. It is gone. I can't even put it on the post editing of this.
I don't have an answer to this question other than it would definitely have something to do with my cats.
Okay.
Yeah, like Bertland or something. Bertlandia.
We all know who your favorite cat is Bert.
That's my dude.
He's the first one, right? That y'all
Yes,
got. Yeah.
yes.
So
I went and got him in a snowstorm on Christmas Eve. It was wild.
Yeah.
And then that cat totally ruined the surprise.
Yeah.
Because I slept downstairs that night for Christmas to try to keep this cat from going upstairs and ruining the surprise of Christmas.
Yeah.
And, hey, we got you a cat. Well, Landon comes down in the middle of the night because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
And he sees this stinking cat walking across the back of the couch. He doesn't say anything. He just goes back to bed. And then he tells me later, he goes, I saw that cat before y'all gave it to us for Christmas. Because this cat, it's a baby cat. It's in a new environment. So this thing's wilding out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to keep it under control to not wake the kids up and ruin it. Just, but Bert is my favorite. So yeah, it would be something like Bert Maclandia.
I don't know what I would do. Have you seen some of the names?
Can you just call a planet Bert?
Yeah, they call it Bert. Like any new planet that they find or designate, they name it a name and then they give it a number behind it.
Bert number 1.
Yeah, Bert 1.
That's it. I just named it Mystery Meat. Accomplished.
I don't even want to answer this, to be honest with you, because I don't have anything good today, I guess.
Yeah.
I think that's probably... I've appreciated, I think I've, all the jokes that I have, in a week, you've exhausted.
You've exhausted them.
Yeah, just through our conversations. So I don't have anything good.
Yeah, I used up a bunch
I'll go
of
with
them on
Bert.
Monday.
I'll go with Bert 1.
Yes.
So
that'd be cool. If anyone out there does that, buying someone a star thing, I'd love to have a star named Bert 1.
the problem is that they keep
probably
on.
taken.
There ain't no way that how many people probably have a star from one of the
crazy thing is,
constellations
I
or
don't
something.
actually know how to spell Bert.
Burt.
Bert.
No, you name him Bert, Bert, because he's a dude.
Burt.
Yeah, that's more manly.
I think that Bert from Bert and Ernie was Bert. I could be wrong, but I don't know.
Was Bert from Sesame Street manly?
He was a man.
No, he was a puppet.
Well, that's true.
he was
a male puppet, though.
He probably had a dude's
That's funny.
hand.
So if we're going to name a planet, I don't even know what spelling I would go with. I'm going to have to use Google to figure that out later.
Or if it's since it's in space, you can name it BYRT.
Well, that cat is named after Andy Dwyer, who is Chris Pratt on Parks and Rec, and he has his alter ego, Burt Macklin.
Yeah.
So I guess I just need to look up what that character is actually.
Yeah, that'd probably be
the spelling is, and that's how Bert's name is spelled.
Yeah. Did you hear how you would spell it, if it was in space, BYRT?
Yeah, you could do that too.
If it was the name of a new planet.
Yeah, I like BYRT.
I wanna love you, BYRT.
Yep, there you go.
Burt Young thing.
I've been listening to a lot of Michael Jackson this week, ever since, what was that, Monday? Or
yes.
Tuesday?
Monday.
I've been listening to a lot of them. I actually had it on the other night, driving Olivia to her softball game, and she was beside herself, what are we doing?
Throw on Prince for her, dude.
I might try that.
Yeah. All righty. We appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for sticking around for another episode. We'll be back next Friday for another episode. We're going to continue interviewing a preacher. I don't know what we're doing.
More preaching stuff.
More preaching stuff. More preaching questions and getting into the psychology of a preacher. Later. Thank you so much for listening in with us today. We really appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You can also follow us on social media, on Facebook, Instagram. You can also watch the video version of this on YouTube as well.
All you have to do is search up the Pastor's Potluck Podcast. From all of us here, we want to say thank you, and we'll see you next week.